The Sahara Desert, which means desert in Arabic, covers an area of 9.2 million square kilometers, making it the largest hot desert in the world. In fact, it is slightly smaller than China and somewhat larger than Brazil. It crosses 10 countries and occupies almost a third of the African continent. So it is clear that there is more than enough space to build a monumental solar power plant. But would this be possible? The first thing we need, besides a lot of space, is a lot of sun. This is a map of direct solar radiation worldwide. We can see that there are several areas with great potential, such as Mexico and the western US, the Central Andes region, Southern Africa, Australia, Tibet, the Middle East, and finally, the Sahara, which is the region with the largest surface area. But of course, it isn't necessary to cover all 9 million square kilometers. In the hypothetical case of covering it entirely, it would generate 18 times the world's total energy consumption, consummated at an average of 2,300 kilowatt hours per person annually, and assuming a 15% efficiency for solar panels. The area needed to power the entire world with solar energy is 500,000 square kilometers, roughly the total land area of Spain. Furthermore, in the entire Sahara Desert, excluding the Nile Valley, only about 2.5 million people live. That is one person for every 37 square kilometers. This would be like only 27 people living in the entire city of Barcelona instead of its population of over 1.5 million. So, if we only need a small fraction of the desert and aren't bothering anyone, why don't we do it? Because an installation of this scale comes with major consequences. The area needed for current global energy demand is 5.5% of the desert, but overall demand grows year after year. Additionally, as the quality of life increases in developing countries, which house the majority of the population, their energy consumption grows proportionally. On the other hand, because solar energy is clean and renewable, people might become less concerned about conserving power. We must also consider installing backup panels in case of technical issues, as well as additional panels dedicated specifically to research. Taking all of this into account, we can assume a figure close to 20% of the desert surface covered in solar panels. Next problem, desert sand is very light in color, while solar panels are very dark. Sand has a high albedo, reflecting sunlight back into space, whereas solar panels absorb far more solar radiation, causing local surrounding temperatures to rise. This might matter little for a small solar farm, but covering 20% of the Sahara Desert would trigger a massive climate feedback loop. The heat emitted by the solar panels creates a steep temperature contrast between the land and the surrounding oceans, lowering atmospheric pressure at the surface. Moist oceanic air rises and condenses into rain. After heavy rainfall, vegetation begins to grow in the desert, reflecting even less sunlight than before. As plant cover increases, more water evaporates, creating a more humid environment that allows vegetation to spread further. This process is very similar to the African humid period when the Sahara was completely green, a period that ended roughly 5,000 years ago. But wait, clean, renewable energy and turning the desert into a green, habitable environment? Why aren't we doing this already? The problem is that the rest of the planet would also suffer. Covering 20% of the Sahara with solar panels would raise local temperatures by 1.5 degrees Celsius, spreading globally through atmospheric and oceanic circulation to create a global average temperature rise of 0.16 degrees Celsius. If we covered 50% instead, local temperatures would jump by 2.5 degrees Celsius and global temperatures by 0.4 degrees Celsius. Because this warming isn't uniform, certain regions, like the poles, would heat up much faster, leading to severe sea ice loss in the Arctic. This would accelerate global warming even further, as melting ice exposes dark ocean waters that absorb significantly more solar radiation than reflective ice sheets. Beyond temperature, global air and ocean currents would shift, disrupting rainfall patterns worldwide. For instance, heavy tropical rains account for a third of global precipitation, sustaining the Amazon rainforest and other vital ecosystems. If those rain belts shift, the Amazon would suffer severe droughts. Rainfall isn't the Amazon's only tie to the desert. Currently, dust swept up from the Sahara travels across the Atlantic and settles over the Amazon, providing essential nutrients for its soil and ecosystems. If the Sahara becomes a lush green zone, this dust transport would drastically diminish, harming both aquatic and terrestrial life across the ocean. Covering the Sahara Desert with solar panels could supply the entire world with clean, renewable energy, but it would trigger a cascade of ecological disasters, a classic case where the cure is worse than the disease.